A second. Yay, we're live. Hello, everybody out there in the world. Welcome to the next live stream. Last month was very quiet. So excuse me. We will see how it goes tonight. The good thing about quieter streams is that you have a much higher chance of winning all of the books. There is less competition. On that note, there is going to be a giveaway. So at the very end of the stream, I will draw a name from the people who are active in the chat and hanging out, and one of you will win books and fun things. Otherwise, I think we'll just get into it. I didn't actually ask you ladies which one of you wanted to go first.
We can go in alphabetical order.
That's gonna make me think really hard. I guess that means Caroline's going first. So, tell us all the things.
Oh, just super chill. Tell us all the things.
Well, whatever you want to. Read your book or not or whatever.
I can introduce myself. My name is Caroline, but that's not really my name. It's my pen name. I don't know, I write the Seasons of Love series, of which there are 2.5. This is the half. And I love them, and my favorite is book 2, but this little novella right here, until all sales until December 31st at 11:59 p.m. will be going to the FACES Research Institute at NYU Langone, which stands for Finding a Cure for Epilepsy and Seizures. And so I have epilepsy, and NYU saved my life one day. So one time. And so it means a lot to be able to contribute to them. And so that is what I'm here to show you guys, my little novella. This was a passion project that happened in a month. It was supposed to be a bonus chapter. Did not turn out that way. And it's kind of a continuation of the characters from book 1. But the sweet thing about this is that the epilogue is kind of the intro to book 3, which I'm introducing a new character that is at the wedding. And I don't know if I should read it. Should I read it?
Do it.
Okay, I write open door romance. So let's read it. The character's name is Rosie. All right, swipe left, swipe left, swipe. Oh, he's kind of cute. My thumb hovers over my screen as I take another look at the man in the photo and zoom in on the dog in his arms instead. Classic dating app move to put a picture with an animal on your profile, but so transparent. The man holds no interest to me. None of the guys ever do. The dog, on the other hand. I tinker briefly with the idea of getting a pet, but reconsider. My work hours are murder. There's no way I could give an animal the daily attention it deserves. The only way I could get one is if things settled down at work a bit. Maybe I could get a cat? With a sigh, I lean my head on my hand, elbow on the table, and keep swiping away. Left, always left, forever left. Sometimes, on a rare occasion, I'll see someone who looks nice and normal and will force myself to swipe right. Of those, I'll maybe attempt to flirt a little, and very, very rarely, I'll actually meet them for a drink. Usually, though, it's a pathetic attempt on my end to find someone who I know will never measure up to the one person I want. Still, don't I get points for trying? Even if it is only sometimes? But as I chew on my thumbnail, eyes laser focused on my phone screen, I realize that it's time I start pushing myself into actually getting to know some of these guys. After nearly a decade, I pretty much need to come to terms with the fact that the person I thought was the love of my life just isn't. So I swipe right on the guy with a dog, a thinly veiled attempt to get women to find him more interesting, because who knows, maybe I'll get to play with it for the day if we go out on a date. Immediately, my phone buzzes with a notification. We're a match, apparently. And not 5 seconds later, Jake, 33, from Montauk, is messaging me, asking me to meet him in 10 minutes for a drink somewhere close by. Is this a lot to read? Like, or can I read the entire chapter? I feel like
You can read as much as you want to, or as little. Whatever you want to do.
it's a long chapter. Okay. I dump my phone on the table and take a sip of my wine, frustrated with dating apps and overeager single men and getting drinks and random dates. But mostly I'm frustrated with myself, with my inability to let go, with the fact that I'm currently at my friend's wedding, supposed to be having fun, but I'm sitting alone at my table going through my phone instead. I should be out on the dance floor enjoying myself. I should be flirting with one of the cute single groomsmen, Matt's cute doctor friend, for example. Instead, I'm here pouting, thinking about the biggest mistake I ever made. As I look around, my eyes fall on the back door near the band, where I watch a very disheveled Liza and Matt sneak their way back into the party. Because they just had sex. Amused, I watch as she adjusts his tie and finger combs his hair back into place with a soft smile on her face. Matt looks down at her with a knowing smirk, as if no one can tell by Liza's unknotted shirt, her mess of a hair, the mismatched buttons on Bat's button down, or her beard burn, what they've been up to. Whatever. It's a long chapter. I don't want to put you guys through it all.
You can stop at any point that you want to. This is whatever you want to do, Caroline.
That's fine. Anyway, that's just like a little snippet of obviously like a girl who lost the person that she loved a lot, and it's obviously hinting at that like the next book is going to be like a second chance trope kind of love, and it's been difficult to write for some reason. So I finished my first draft and I set it aside, but I think that it's going to get the love and attention that like they deserve. So as writers, you know that like our characters are real people.
Mm-hmm. They are.
They are real people that live in your head. And I think they're going to get the attention that they need just by leaving them aside for a little bit. So anyway, that's it. That's me.
I love it. I haven't actually, confession time, read any of your books yet, but
Me neither.
I will remedy that eventually. There's a lot of hedgy books that I need to get my hands on.
Mm-hmm.
We need a dedicated space with like lists of all the
Totally
books, but
yeah.
Anyway, I'm very excited. Second chance romances are fun. I enjoy those. Is there anything else?
Very piney.
It's very piney.
I tried to make it as funny as I could, but like it's difficult when you're dealing with two people who are just like, I love you, but we can't be together type of deal. It's hard.
I love it. I love it. That's fantastic. Was there anything else you want to tell us about the characters or your novella or anything else?
No, I don't know. I suck at these things.
Same.
Just that I only have like, what is it, 22 days to raise as much money as I can, and I probably should be making more of an effort. But yeah, so if you're interested in supporting that, all of the money goes to Faces. None of it goes to Caroline. That's it.
We love a good cause. You did great. I like how you didn't want to keep reading. That part cracked me up.
Also, I feel like I ate like 8 cookies before starting this, and my mouth is
well, I'm struggling with like a head cold, so like my nose is stuffy and my throat's all scratchy. So if that makes you feel any better about your cookies. Ellie, are you ready? Are you ready to go?
Sure. Hopefully the little puppy does not start barking again. On cue. So I've never done one of these before, so I'm really nervous. I'll just put that out there.
Tell us who you are.
I am Elizabeth Woodrow. I live in Indiana. I write Christian romance with plus size main female characters, except for one, but the boy will be kind of chubby in that book. But right now I am writing, well, the two books that I have published are the Edenton Bay romance series. They're set in Edenton, North Carolina. And the first one is called Mending Broken Roads. It is about Callie St. Clair, and she leaves Indianapolis. She feels that's her prison because she was forced to go live with her aunt, who was abusive after her parents died on her 16th birthday. And she finds herself in Edenton, North Carolina, on a ranch called Redemption Ranch. It's a horse sanctuary. And she kind of finds everything that she didn't know she needed or wanted, for that matter. Book 2 just came out, 2 weeks ago? And it is called Finding Redemption Ranch. This one, I'll read a little bit. I'll read chapter 2. But this one is about Amelia, and she, it opens up with her and her boyfriend, her boyfriend beating her up because he went after her 4-year-old daughter, Quinn, which I love Quinn. So I'll just read chapter 2, if I can find it. It's usually after chapter 1. There we go. So this is from Amelia's perspective. I write in first person. So I need 2 tickets for the next bus out of town, I breathlessly told the clerk behind the window at the Greyhound station. My eyes constantly checked my perimeter for any signs of Gary. The next bus leaves in 30 minutes, heading to Edenton, North Carolina. The clerk peered at me with pity in his eyes, his gaze sweeping from my wild eyes to my throat. His warm smile told me he understood my urgency. I'll take it. How much? I rapidly tapped my fingers on the counter and bounced back and forth on my feet gently, as though rocking Quinn as she slept in my arms with her head on my shoulder. Do you need return tickets? No. That'll be $121.98. I know specific. I looked it up. I slid the money through the hole at the bottom of the window. Come on, I whispered to myself, willing the man to move faster. Have a safe trip. The clerk glided the tickets and my change back to me. Thank you. I snatched the tickets, shoving the change into my pocket. I readjusted my sleeping Quinn and hurried to get lost in the small crowd. I had never wanted to be invisible more than at that moment. I prayed to whatever God might be listening for us to get away safely. I found a place to sit to wait for the departure time. It was in a corner where I had my back to the wall. Always have your back to the wall, Em. I had to be able to see everyone coming and going. I rubbed Quinn's back as she slept against my chest. My mind flooded with memories of what had transpired that evening. In that moment on the floor, I realized I had nothing to lose by trying to leave. There was a chance that if Gary found us, he'd kill me, but I knew if we stayed, my death would be imminent. Where would that leave Quinn? He would either take her or she would go into foster care. I didn't want either outcome. The 30 minutes it took for the bus to arrive were grueling. Oh no, I forgot her booster seat. I would just have to deal with it. I wasn't going back to get it, that was for sure. I kept my eyes moving in every direction, waiting to see Gary barreling toward us. Once we boarded the long gray bus and flopped into a seat, careful not to disturb Quinn, I exhaled deeply. Hurdle 2 conquered. I laid Quinn in the seat next to me. I dug her blanket and horse seat out of the bag and gently covered her. My eyes remained glued to the door of the bus. My leg jiggled frantically. Come on, I begged under my breath. My heart pounded in my chest. The driver was taking forever. What if Gary found us? Finally, the driver boarded. Good evening. Thank you for choosing to travel with Greyhound. Our first stop will be Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Relax? How can you tell me to relax at a time like this? I wasn't sure if I'd be able to relax again. Would I always have to look over my shoulder, wondering if that was the time Gary would find us? So many questions, no real answers. Only time would tell. When the bus rolled into motion, my heart began to settle, a little. Hurdle 3, get out of Norristown, Pennsylvania, almost complete. The driver's voice filled the air just after our departure. There'll be a 40-minute layover in Philadelphia. My heart raced again. Stopping so close wasn't safe. My hands became clammy, so I wiped them down the length of my thighs. I willed my heart rate to slow. I inhaled and exhaled deeply as I closed my eyes and rested my head on the back of the seat. I again prayed to whatever deity might be listening and cared about us at all. Please keep us safe. I opened my eyes, scanning the entire length of the bus on both sides. As the driver pulled into the station in Philadelphia, he informed us, "We'll get back on the bus in 40 minutes. I glanced at my watch, 11 p.m. I stepped into the aisle, hoisted our bag over my shoulder, and scooped Quinn out of her seat. Leaning over, I snatched Horsey from the chair. Quinn would never forgive me if I lost him. He was her absolute favorite. It was the only childhood thing Gary allowed her to have. I bought it for her 3rd birthday. It was the start of her obsession with horses. I hoped the trip would be easier once Quinn woke and could walk. As I entered the station, my eyes scanned every direction. My breath hitched in my throat. Gary could have been waiting for us, even though I was pretty sure he was still out cold. I found a seat against the wall, facing the door. Quinn was fast asleep. It would take grenades going off to get her to wake up. My eyes remained on the door until it was almost time to get back on the bus. We should use the restroom before we board again. Definitely don't want to squish into the tiny bathroom at the back of the bus. Quinn, honey, can you wake up so you can use the bathroom? I gently set her on her feet, but held her on until she was awake enough to stand on her own. Quinn rubbed her eyes before opening them. "Where are we?" she whispered as she glanced around the stall. "We're on our trip, remember? I told you about it before dinner." Quinn's little body trembled as I spoke. "It's okay, sweetie, I promise." I squeezed her close before helping her onto the seat. After we both were done and washed our hands, I swept Quinn back up into my arms. Once again, I found a seat against the wall, facing the door. I held her a little tighter to my chest as she fell back asleep. I watched people move about the station. A man in tattered clothes was laid out on a bench, sleeping. There were more men than women, I noticed. I didn't know if that was really true or if I was just hypersensitive at the moment. It had only been 40 minutes since arriving in Philadelphia, but it felt like 40 hours. When it was time to depart, I looked around in all directions as I walked out of the station. There were too many dark corners where Gary could have been lurking, waiting to attack. He did it when he was angry. Other times he did it for his own amusement, just to terrorize me. I exhaled deeply as I laid Quinn in a seat by the window at the back of the bus, then slid in next to her. "Welcome back or welcome aboard," the driver greeted everyone. "We'll be making 3 short stops on our way to our next layover in New York City. We will be stopped for 4 hours before you will board another bus to your final destination. We won't get off the bus until our arrival in New York, unless, of course, one of those stops is yours. As always, thank you for choosing Greyhound." The driver hooked the microphone to the receiver and took his seat behind the wheel. I studied him for a moment. His voice was smooth as silk and somehow comforted me. I don't know, is everyone bored yet?
No, Gary's a dick.
He truly is, if you would have read the first chapter. But
Jesus.
as the bus jostled down the highway, I stared at my little girl sleeping in the seat next to me. She was tiny in the oversized chair. Her long blonde curls rested against her cheek. I brushed her hair to the side and smiled briefly. I still couldn't believe we'd escaped. I had thought about leaving so many times before. I wasn't sure what made me stay. Fear, perhaps? Fear that I wouldn't know the first thing about taking care of us, or fear of what Gary would do if I wasn't successful. I ran my fingers over my neck. I could still feel Gary's hands there, squeezing. I stifled a yawn. "Em, you have to stay awake." I rubbed my eyes and straightened in my chair. It was no use. My eyes refused to stay open. With adrenaline racing through my veins, sleep wouldn't come, but I kept my eyes closed anyway, just so they could rest. "Miss, you have to get off the bus," Gary said, as his fingers wrapped around my wrist so tight that I could feel my own pulse. My eyes fluttered open. When I looked up, I saw Gary's face. I gasped and nearly jumped out of my chair. I closed and opened my eyes once more. This time, standing in front of me was the bus driver. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't mean to scare you. We've arrived in New York City. You'll be switching buses in about 4 hours." "Oh, okay, thank you. I'm so sorry." I scrambled to my feet. My legs wobbled from waking to Gary's face. No matter that it was imagined, it unnerved me. Once I felt sturdy on my feet, I snatched our bag and gathered Quinn. New York City. I'd always wanted to visit, but had never gotten the chance. I glanced at my watch. I had no idea what to expect from the city that never sleeps at 1:30 a.m. I clutched Quinn closer as I trudged through the station door. Yuck, what is that smell? Some sort of mixture of body odor and urine. I gagged as I squished my nose to Quinn's shoulder and did my best to breathe in and out through my mouth. I glanced around. There were more homeless people than travelers. I overheard someone mention something about rain coming. The homeless must have gone there to get out of the impending weather. What was I going to do for 4 hours? Have more paranoid thoughts about Gary, I was sure. I spotted some vending machines. As I strolled over, I fished a couple of dollar bills out of my front pocket. I bought a pop and a pack of cheese crackers. With snacks in hand, I found a seat in a corner away from everyone, facing the door, of course. Always had to keep my eyes on the exit. I sat and cradled Quinn in my lap. I opened the can and took a swig. The liquid burned as it slid down my throat. I wasn't sure if it was the bubbles or the aftermath of the choking, but I felt it. It was a reminder I was still alive. I had another chance to give Quinn a life without fear and violence. Ma'am, do you have a couple of dollars you could spare? A man asked, his clothes dirty and tattered. He stood way too close for my comfort. I glanced up at him. I'm sorry, I don't. Are you sure? You look like you have money to spare. The man inched closer. Did I really look like I had money to spare? I did what I could to broaden the distance, but there wasn't much room as the arm of the chair dug into my thigh. Excuse me, is this man bothering you? Another man inquired with a deep, silky southern drawl. The homeless man's eyes grew as big as saucers. I was only asking her for a couple of dollars, but she is being stingy. Well, it is her money, my rescuer pointed out while standing with his hands on his hips. It's not that, I started to say, but thought better of it. Here, take these $4 and leave her alone. The kind man stretched out his hand toward the homeless one, who snatched the money and scurried away. Ma'am, are you okay? My rescuer leaned down slightly in an attempt to make eye contact. I studied him from his feet that were adorned with dusty, well-worn cowboy boots, up his denim-covered legs and plaid button-down shirt, to his defined arms where the cloth of his shirt strained against them, and then there was his chiseled face and hazel eyes. His eyes were the perfect blend of brown and green. Covering his dark brown hair was a nicely broken-in cowboy hat. Nope, definitely not from New York City, or at least not what I would expect from the Big Apple. I opened my mouth, but the words strangled in my throat. I'm fine, thank you, I finally managed to utter. Okay then, have a good trip. The man tipped his hat and strutted away. Wow. I watched as he departed. He was definitely a man who could get a woman's heart pumping. Under different circumstances, mine would have been one of them, but I didn't trust my instincts, not when it came to men anyway. As I continued to monitor the door, I drank my pop and ate a few more crackers while waiting for the bus to arrive. I left a few crackers for Quinn in case she woke up on the bus. I checked my perimeter regularly. When our bus's arrival was announced over the loudspeaker, I breathed a sigh of relief, stood, grabbed our bag, and readjusted Quinn to a more comfortable position on my hip. We were the first to board, so I went to the very last seat. As I sat in my seat, a man boarded. My heart leaped almost out of my chest. I recognized him as the man who helped me with the homeless guy. My eyes widened as a trickle of sweat slid down my back. My breath lodged in my throat. Is he following me? Did Gary send him? My leg bounced up and down. I bit my bottom lip. Calm down, Em. You're just being paranoid. I did my best to calm my nerves. I didn't want to, but I knew if I didn't close my eyes and slow my breathing, I was going to have an anxiety attack. My eyes drifted closed and I counted to 10. I wanted to keep my eyes on the man, but my exhaustion overtook me. My eyes flicked open just as the bus pulled into the station at the next stop. Finally, we were further away from Gary, almost far enough to breathe. As I saw the man from New York step off the bus, I inhaled deeply. I closed my eyes and whispered softly out into the universe, please keep us safe. I peeked at Quinn. She had awakened at some point during that leg of the trip. I could see she'd found the crackers as she was covered in crumbs. For the first time since escaping Gary, I chuckled. I held my hand out to Quinn and glanced at my watch. 11:40 a.m. Come on, sweetheart. Looks like we should grab some lunch. We have 55 minutes before the next bus. I held Quinn's hands as she jumped from the bottom step of the bus. Yay, I'm hungry. Where are we going, Mommy? Quinn skipped along beside me. I told you, we're taking a Mommy and Quinn trip. Almost done. Okay, Quinn grinned up at me. We grabbed a sandwich, a bag of chips, and water to share from the little cafe inside the station. As we were eating, I saw the man again. The hairs on the back of my neck stood at attention. I clenched my hands into fists and closed my eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When I opened my eyes, the man had disappeared. I blew out a breath. I hoped I'd feel better once we got to where we were going. By the time Quinn and I were done eating, it was time for the final leg of our trip. Once again, the man took a seat on the same bus. He couldn't do anything to us on the bus, right? If he wanted to, he would have done something already, right? I kept my eyes on him during the ride, just in case. At 4:40 p.m., we finally arrived in Edenton, North Carolina. I exhaled deeply as the bus rolled to a stop. I hoped this place was far enough away from Gary. I stepped down from the bus, turned and helped Quinn. As the man descended the stairs right after Quinn, my breath refused to leave my body like a defiant toddler. Is he going to grab us when no one else is around? I waited by the bus stop, which was just a sign in front of a gas station, until I saw him disappear around the corner. I exhaled sharply and pulled Quinn in the opposite direction. As we ambled down the main road leading into town, I scanned our surroundings. We passed by extravagant Victorian homes. Dogs barked from backyards. Birds chirped as spring was making room for summer. I wished I'd had more time and energy to admire the quaintness of it all. I glanced over my shoulder to see an old silver Dodge Charger barreling down the road. Gary, it looked just like his car. I whimpered as the car drove past without slowing down. Music and laughter from the car full of girls blasted from the window. My heart dropped and my knees almost gave out. I swiped a tear from my face as I darted into a cafe with Quinn in tow. Even though we had escaped, we would never truly be free from Gary. Chapter 2.
I'm having like an anxiety
Finding
attack.
Redemption Ranch. Where's my thing? There it is.
I'm having an anxiety attack.
And I so love this cover.
The cover is beautiful. And also I agree on the anxiety attack. It's so tense.
No, because you did a really good job at I mean, I've never been in that situation, but you did a really good job at just showing the consequences and how, impossible it is to get out of that mindset after you're like going through that.
Yeah.
And now I'm really stressed out. So
I struggled because I was like, is she too paranoid? Like that it makes it not realistic, or is she just paranoid?
No. I feel like that's how you're running away. That's how paranoid you would be.
Well, and I mean he did almost kill her in chapter 1, so
I don't know why you didn't want to read chapter 1, Ellie.
I mean I can, but
I feel now like inspired. You had all that confidence to read your entire chapter, and I just got choked.
Well, my
up.
chapters are super short too, so most of them are. There's a couple in book 2 that are super long, but
yeah,
I just love this story so much.
So do I. I have read this one. To be fair, I haven't read the published version, but
right.
I have read this.
Mandy, are you telling me you wouldn't read of this sexy part?
I'd totally read the whole thing.
Listen, I'm not saying I wouldn't read your books. I'm just saying that Ellie's my critique partner, so I have to read hers.
Also, she has to read my book. She's forced to.
Also, I'm so lazy that instead of going to my husband's office where like all my books are, I found this proof by my bed, and I was like, yes, I don't have to get up. That's a long day of working.
That is the most relatable thing you have ever said.
I swear to God, I was just gonna read it off my computer, and I was like,
yes. I know. I made sure to put it right by me.
Shit on this cover, like I did this.
I love that cover.
Yeah, it's my favorite one. All of them are getting redone except for this one.
Nice.
Whatever.
You said you were inspired. Did you want to read the second half of your chapter?
No, she was inspirational. I didn't say was inspired. I don't know. I could read a funny part. I don't know.
Funny
I don't
part.
know about a funny part.
You don't have to read anymore.
Thank you.
I just like to mock you. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about, Ellie? Elizabeth. Having to say your formal names is hard.
I know. She's. I guess just that book 3. I'm not currently writing it, because this book drained me so much. And if you read it, you'll know why. But book 3 is going to be about Caitlin, who is my thin protagonist, the only thin one I will ever have. And that's only because, well, I don't know if you know Caroline, but I think you've been on the Prickles that I've talked about it. Some friends from high school, they have a daughter who had juvenile diabetes, and so I thought, what can I do for them that not everybody else is doing? Because, everybody's making shirts and keychains and all that stuff. So I decided to write them into my book.
Yeah.
So they start out in book one. Caitlin actually is the name of the girl. Actually has chapters in book two. So she in 2020 she passed away at the age of 21 from complications of juvenile diabetes. So book three, I think I'm just like a little scared to write it too because I don't know.
Yeah.
Lots of pressure on myself to write a good one.
I know how you feel. So like I planned for next year's publications to publish my holiday story, which I postponed from this last year, which is the one that's done and the epilogue from this, right? And then like a Halloween witch vibe type of deal that I did. I like signed up for it with this like press to try to hit USA Today. But like this story came to me about someone who was struggling with infertility, and like I don't know if you've heard it, but of me talking about it, but basically like I'm so tired of my parents and my family and my friends all being like, "Oh, like you can try adoption. Have you tried like, thought about adoption or thought about surrogacy,
Right.
or thought about whatever?" And it's like, no, of course. No, I haven't thought about that. Like, wow, you just like changed my mind. Thank you. Or like them not being okay with my husband and my choices to like not do these things for XY reason. Like, it's not their business to know why, but
Right.
like we have talked about it. And so basically my worst nightmare is that, my husband like would be like, we can't have kids, so we're done type of deal. And so I decided, because I keep telling my family, like, I don't need to have kids to have a family or be
Right.
happy or to, So I just wanted to write this book, and I got this story popped into my head. And so I really, 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 really want to write it. But like, I'm so scared
You
that
definitely
I
should.
won't, that A, I won't do it right. And B, that despite the fact that it will be cathartic, I'll be like crying the entire time.
Well, I don't think you have to worry about not doing it right because, I mean, you can use your own experiences to, and I think it's definitely relatable because I know that there's a lot of women and men too who are dealing with infertility.
Yeah. So I'm like excited about. I just need to like figure out when I'm gonna write it with a
Yeah.
full-time job and 3 books that I need to write this year. We'll see. Nat is here. Hello, Natalie. We'll see. We'll see if it comes out. I have no planned date for that.
Well, I'm finally like set on what book I'm writing next. I've been struggling. And I'm still struggling, so I'm not sure what's gonna happen. But I'm writing the Bumblebee story about
That's so
Penelope
cute.
and Gideon. But it's set in Nashville, Indiana now, so instead of Tennessee.
I need to figure out the whole like small town of everything, because this book has to be in the middle of nowhere, but not so much in the middle of nowhere that they're separated from a city. You know what I mean? It has to be
Yeah.
like 2 hours either way to the nearest city.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know anything
Where do you
about,
want it to be? Like, what state do you want it to be in?
so I don't know. But it has to be,
Well,
because I don't know the rest of the US, right? I just know the Northeast and the bigger cities in the Northeast. So like Philly, New York, Boston, and
yeah,
like I need it to be cool. So I was thinking maybe like the East Coast, but it doesn't, just because I know it,
yeah.
right? But then Someone told me like try the Midwest. And I'm like, I've never been to the Midwest, so I don't.
You can come visit me and Mandy. So what I did when I was looking up small towns for Edenton Bay romance, well, it wasn't even called that at the time. And actually, my first book was supposed to be God Bless the Broken Road, but publisher was like, I think it'll get lost in the song search, and because of the song, and there's a movie called that, and so I was like, fine. But what I did was I just looked up like best small towns in America.
No, this needs to be a dump.
Well, so what I did was I looked at best small towns in America, and
Natalie,
it totally does. But and I looked at pictures of the cities that occurred on a lot of the websites. So Edenton was the only one that was on within driving distance for me, not on the West Coast, basically. And I fell in love with the pictures. And I was just like, that's the place. Now, I just went to Enos, Texas. Totally different story. I got there and I'm like, this is cute. I was like, this is totally not the place. So,
But see, I don't want to travel.
Well, see, that's why
I don't want
it,
to go to a dump of a town.
but now I'm like, I can't really afford to do that all the time. I mean, because Enos, Texas was 14 hours away.
I need to go to Salem, Massachusetts, which is 45 minutes away from me. And I cannot afford it because I need to, like, the best way to do it would be to rent a car, right? And drive around and for a full day, and like renting a car is expensive.
Yeah. That's true.
But that's for like, I'll do it next year. But I just needed to be like a town where my main character just wanted to leave and ended up having to come back. So she's like miserable about it.
Yeah.
And they literally have like one bar and like one mini grocery. Like it literally has to have nothing. Like Schitt's Creek type of deal.
It's like
that's what I'm imagining in my head.
If you blink, you miss it.
I'm literally imagining Schitt's Creek in my head.
So another thing that I do, because I don't want like a small town of like, a couple hundred people, which I think is probably what you want, maybe a population of 2. But just look up like if you can find like small towns near a big city, just look them up and do like, population of such and such a town. And then you could, pick your town that way.
Could be. I have to like get into it. I'm drafting it. Just started. I'm at like 5,000 words, and in brackets I put look up somewhere boring.
I mean, Edenton doesn't even have a Walmart.
I'm thinking of just making up a name. Obvious. I'm gonna make up a town name, obviously, but I need like some type of geographical location.
Well, you need to pick a state, and then you can go from there, because then you can decide what big city is like within driving distance. Because then your fake little town doesn't have to be like an actual town that's on a map that people can find.
Right.
But like that way you have geography to work with.
Have you guys ever read this series?
Mm-mm.
No? Mm-mm. This is the latest in the series. Well, she manages to create this small town in Maryland that is kind of the vibes that I'm looking for, but that's a little too metropolitan. Whatever. It's fine.
Writers. That's why I picked real towns, because I'm like, I'm an empty nester now. I'm single. I need something to do with my life, because I've realized that so many people from my childhood and my classmates have passed away. They're like maybe 5 years older, to some of them even 5 years younger than me. And I'm just like, if I died tomorrow, I'm like, I haven't even really lived my life. I've been struggling to survive since I turned 18, and I'm going to be 46 next year. And I'm just like, I need something, So I just decided to use real towns so I could go and travel and visit them. But this last trip, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have to pick places closer to home. Because that was brutal. That was brutal.
Yeah.
I keep writing about New York and Long Island and Boston because that's like all
I was watching your facial expressions, excuse me, when Amelia was in New York City in the chapter. I was keeping an eye on Caroline's face because I was like, is it accurate?
Was I making expressions? Because I have Botox in my forehead, so
You were making expressions.
yeah, you were. It was great. Where Penn Station is, which is where all the Greyhounds get to. I mean, they get to Chinatown also, but basically it's Penn Station. It is literally disgusting. The shittiest thing in the world. Like, okay, taking a train, an Amtrak from Penn Station is different from taking a Greyhound from Penn Station because it's two different places. They're both disgusting, but not equally disgusting. My brother one time is like, you're spending too much money taking the train into Philly. It was like $45. And he is like, take the Greyhound. It's like $5. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll take the fucking Greyhound. I'll take the Greyhound. I go to the Greyhound. And obviously this was when I was still living in New York. I go to the Greyhound, delays, raining, so full of homeless people. Piss on floors from homeless people peeing in front of you, taking their dicks out in front of everyone. And like everyone's cramped up in this place that smells and is full of like no horrible experience.
Well, then I was spot on.
You were spot on.
Without even realizing I was spot on.
You were perfectly spot on. Like, I love New York, but over the past couple of years, it's just been like an experience.
And Mandy, can I just say how much she looks like what Sir Guy looks like in my head? Can I just say
that's good. That was a great segue. I liked it. Yes.
I'm like, perfect. I'm in love with this story. I'm like, keep giving me chapters.
I did. I put the entire book in your document. Anyway, yeah.
As soon as this is over,
you can go read the end of the story.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk about my book. I was thinking about reading. The first chapter's kind of long, and also I don't. Well, okay, I'm gonna read, but like caveats, I don't feel that I do the story justice. I'm not a dramatic reader, and so I can hear what I sound like, and I know it's not what it would sound like in my head or a reader's head, potentially. So, like, I don't love listening to myself read, basically, because I know it doesn't sound spectacular. But we're going to read the first chapter, and then Candace is going to show off her little Gisbourne outfit, and we will go from there. So, chapter 1. Yeah. I don't know why I said it like that, but we did. Anyway.
I'm going to mute myself because the TV's on.
Mm-hmm. Sir Guy of Gisbourne brushed away the sweat from his forehead with his arm as he watched the overturned dirt being shoveled back into the hole at his feet. The sun shone down with far more warmth than necessary, and the heat was only made worse by Guy's choice dress from head to toe in black leather. It made him more imposing. Guy, stop whimpering as you swing your sword. You sound like a baby. My son will not be a baby. Guy was decidedly not a baby. He was going to be the most feared man in England if he could manage it. The dark clothes helped with the imposing image in his mind. That, and he never smiled, for that would be weakness. Feeling a drop of sweat rolling down his back, Guy resisted the urge to shrink from the sunshine. He stood tall and straight as the servant shoveled dirt into the hole, covering the wooden box that held his greatest foe. This should have been a good day. Guy was 17 years old and a head taller than any man his age, and his dark hair and eyes lent a sinister look to his face, or so he hoped, added to by his dark attire, no doubt. No one could beat him with the sword. No one could outride him. His father had seen to that. You will do better, or you will not eat. I will have I will not have a son of mine unable to handle himself as a true knight. If you shame the family name, I will find you and I will kill you. Do you understand me? Guy glanced back up at the orb of heat beating down on him and frowned. His father must have ordered the sun for today. The late Lord of Gisbourne had died in a fight with another lord, and Guy was now overseeing the wretched man's burial. But he wasn't happy. Someone brushed his shoulder, and Guy looked down to see his only friend, Andrew, had come to stand beside him. Andrew had been purchased when both young men were mere children, in order to be Guy's manservant. For years, Guy's father had trained the two of them together. Andrew was an accomplished soldier. And unlike Guy, he did smile sometimes. Guy couldn't help but briefly wonder why he still bothered to keep company with Andrew. Andrew was weak. Holding on to him out of nostalgia or sentiment was weak. Lord Gisbourne is dead and the sun still shines. Andrew glanced from the nearly filled grave to Guy's scowling face. That's good, isn't it? Guy glared at Andrew. Don't bother me. Shall we go inside, Guy? It is a hot day and you look like you are melting. Guy spun toward Andrew, his eyes flashing, and snarled, Do I? Andrew rolled his eyes, unaffected by the outburst. Yes, you do look like you are melting. Come on, there'll be shade inside, not to mention cool water. Guy crossed his arms, turning back to the burial. The men were nearly finished. His father lay beneath the dirt and could not harm him again. Andrew put a hand on his shoulder, a condescending smile gracing his annoying face. No one in all of England doubts that you are strong. Drink some water and get in the shade before you collapse. Guy didn't budge. Going inside on a hot day will surely mar your reputation far less than if you faint in the open where everyone can see you. Guy sighed and followed Andrew back toward the manor house. In the spacious front room, there was very little furniture, but there was a table set up near the large hearth in the back wall, across from the door. There was a twisted and dark whip hanging over the mantelpiece, but Guy ignored that. Andrew led him to the table. There was a pitcher of fresh spring water there. They both poured a cup and took a few drinks before Andrew spoke again. Okay, what is it? What is what? Guy slammed his pewter glass onto the table and wood chips flew from the surface. You've dented your table. Well done. Guy glared at Andrew, and Andrew merely raised an eyebrow in question. What is bothering you? Your worst enemy has died and was buried. You're free now. Not to mention you're a knight and you own this whole manor. Andrew waved his hand to encompass the spacious room around them. Sir Guy of Gisbourne ought to be rejoicing, except that you never show pleasure. But still, you shouldn't be gloomy on a day like this. Why couldn't he have died yesterday, or even tomorrow? Andrew rolled his eyes. Do you have to find fault with everything? What is wrong with him dying today? At least he's gone. But Andrew raised his eyebrows again. But I drummed his fingers on the surface of the now dented wooden table. How could Andrew have forgotten? The day was burned into Guy's memory, etched into his heart. A lump was forming in his throat, and he could feel the prick of tears in his eyes, but Guy shoved down the feelings. Crying is for a baby. I will only have a true son of mine living under my roof. A true son of mine is not a baby. You'll sleep outside tonight. Guy clenched his jaw, trying to keep his face impassive and his voice calm. 10 years ago, Andrew. Remember? Andrew's eyes widened. Oh, it's the day your father... I remember. Then stop bothering me about my mood. Guy spun on his heel and stormed out of the hall. He took the stairs 2 at a time and marched along the corridors upstairs until he came to his own room. He slammed the door behind him after entering and then sank to the floor, pulling his knees up to his chest and letting his head fall forward. The tears came then. His hands trembled as his shoulders shook with sobs, and Guy pressed his fists to his mouth to stop himself from whimpering aloud. As he rocked back and forth on the floor, his cheeks wet with tears, his mind drifted to another time he'd been crying in this room. There's more, but I feel like stopping now. Well, there you go. That's the opening of Guy's delightful story. Candace, do you want to show off?
Sure. Well, I'm in black head to toe.
Good call.
You acted out some of the parts.
Did you? I have to go back and watch the
When
replay.
you were like sweating, sweating like that.
I follow the facial expressions.
Yeah, like super somber, like.
Nice.
Sometimes I broke because, well, Andrew's funny. And I am, in fact, not Guy.
Andrew's the best.
No, Alan is the best.
Okay, well.
I just have this like fond memory of Alan because once I started Quilling Cup, you were always talking about Alan. I was like, okay, Mandy, what's your character doing? Alan is still in jail.
Yes, that is very accurate. I did discuss Alan in jail and other things quite a lot. Poor guy. Anyway.
So we've got the black cloak, we've got the black shirt, we've got black pauldron, black pants. I don't feel like standing up. If I were wearing them, there would be black boots. And obviously, luscious black
Yes.
locks.
Yes. I love it. I did tell Candace before the stream that she looks like Jesus. But
No, I don't think you look like Jesus.
Oh man. Well, we are nearing the end, so I'm going to put the names real quick in a spinning wheel and see who gets to win books. Get excited. Yay! Okay, hold on. I usually have someone to help with this endeavor, but she is busy tonight, so we are doing it on our own, and it's gonna be great. There we go. That's such an accurate description. I like it. Sorry, I got distracted. What was I doing? Names. I'm putting names in a wheel. Okay. Perfect.
Are you just doing
I
one
appreciate
name,
the
or are you
music.
doing multiple names, or?
I was putting in all of the
Active chatters.
yes. Well, all of the commenting. You have more chances, if you're chattier.
But I
I
mean,
got-
is one person getting all the books, or are you?
Oh, for the giveaway, you mean? Yes,
Yeah.
yes. All of the prizes go to whoever it turns out to be.
Well, that's lovely.
Get excited.
Somebody's going to be excited.
Yeah, because it's spinning. I should have shared the screen, but I did not. We're spinning. We're They're just not supposed to be sound. Okay, it was halfway between Emily and Natalie, and it was like, ee, and then it started singing. Emily, you win! Yay! I should have done that on screen so the rest of you could have seen it, but too late now. Yes, I will get all of your prizes to you, and you get to read books. Be excited. I don't know.
You get to read books.
Oh, Fury's coming to say hi. Come say hi. He's like right next to the. Yeah. You're not on screen, buddy. Anyway, yeah, that's all I have. Oh, there he is. Hey. Yeah, not to me, to them. I don't want your kisses. Go talk to someone else. No. This is not going well. It's my own fault. I called him over here. Anyway, yes, no, I didn't have anything else, so I think that was a no from Fury. Anyway, yes, I'm going to end the stream here.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah,
I had fun.
I'm glad you were able to come. Yes. I'm glad we made this work since last month didn't work out for you. What? I don't want your kisses. No kisses. Anyway. Oh, he unplugged the sadness. Chaos is happening, folks. Anyway, thank you for being here. I actually got way behind and did not put everybody's links and things in the description of the video yet. panic. So as soon as I get off of this stream, I will add everyone's things to the description. So you can go find Caroline and Elizabeth and Candace on their social media. You can find Caroline's books and Elizabeth's books and all the things. Ta-da. But it's not there yet, so you'll have to wait like half a second and then refresh the page. Anyway, so yes, we're done. I hate ending these. I'm so bad at it, but I'm ending it now. Thanks for being here.